Hi everybody, Bianca Perry from i3Net here. Welcome to our interview series. Today I am lucky enough to be having a great conversation with our great friend Kylie Hargreaves. Kylie, a lot of our members obviously will already know you because Squadron Energy is a part of i3Net as a corporate partner. Normally when we speak to you though, we're speaking to you about AIE and the Port Kembla gas terminal, but today we're going to speak about something different in regards to AIP. Could you please give an overview about what your role is in this particular project?
Happy to. Thanks, Bianca, and thanks very much for inviting us to have a chat about AIP. So who is AIP? That's Australian Industrial Power, and AIP is the sister company to AIE, the Australian Industrial Energy, who's doing the Port Kembla gas terminal. So AIP is one of a group of companies under the Tatarang Group. The Tatarang Group is actually Andrew Forrest's private investment vehicle. There is an energy specialist in there called Squadron Energy. So basically we go Tatarang, Squadron, AIE, AIP, and he's got a range of other energy investments as well, like SunPower, which is the big renewable energy project from Northern Territory to Singapore. WindLab in there, which is wind farms, and a couple of others as well. So we're in good company, but that's the difference between AIP and AIE.
Fantastic.
My role with them is sort of the same, although of course the two projects are at very different parts of their lives. So with AIE and with AIP, I'm head of their government and stakeholder relations. For AIE, the good news is we've gone into construction, so that's quite a different role now, whereas AIP is still quite in its early stages, and we are sort of starting the approval process, for example, whereas obviously for AIE, we're well and truly past that and doing construction. So just depends, same role, different stage of project life.
Fantastic. Well, I'm excited that we still get to speak to you about both projects. So that's fantastic. So thank you for your ongoing support. It's great to have you, still involved and obviously really involved in the Illawarra region. Would you be able to give us an overview about the Port Kembla Power Station project itself?
Yeah. So the sort of short version of it is it's a dual fuel. So it's going to operate on hydrogen and natural gas. A dual fuel power station. It has a sort of its total production capability or generation capability is about 660 megawatts, but that's under ideal environmental conditions. So it's really more likely and expected to operate at around 635 megawatts consistently year round. Mm-hmm. It's a what we'd call a combined cycle gas turbine. So it's really latest technology, high efficiency, low gas usage. So therefore, lower fuel costs, therefore lower costs of electricity. If we can get it to 100% green hydrogen, which is what we're actually aiming for, then obviously it'll be low to no emissions. So we're really quite excited about it. It's a significant size. So if you think about 635 megawatts, what does that mean in terms of the New South Wales electricity market? It means that one unit can actually meet about 5% of New South Wales electricity at peak demand. So obviously more at sort of, normal demand, but at peak demand when, the hottest day when everyone's turning their air conditioners on, it'll cover about 5% of New South Wales electricity. So it's a pretty cool power station actually.
Yeah, very significant. You did say a few unique things there, but my next question was going to be asking what's unique about this project. Obviously, I heard you mention a few key things, but it'd be great if you could elaborate on those.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that I'm most excited about is its hydrogen capability. So it's a H-class turbine. Please don't ask me to explain that. But for those engineers amongst i3Net, they'll understand exactly what that is. But it's hydrogen. It's going to be hydrogen capable. So from day one, it'll be 50% able to take a 50% hydrogen as its fuel source. And certainly under Andrew Forrest's objective of getting to, much greater use of green hydrogen in all sectors of the economy, the power station has a target of being 100% green hydrogen operated by 2030, which is really quite aggressive. So that's really exciting. It's unique because it's going to be located right next to the Port Kembla gas terminal. And so that means, unlike any other power station on the eastern seaboard at the moment, this one will have its own source of gas. So rather than having to draw down on other, limited supplies of gas, we'll be able to draw on the gas that's coming through the Port Kembla LNG terminal. Amazing, which means we can basically secure our supply. And the other beautiful thing is that it's obviously basically traveling across the distance of the berth. So we're not going to have to pay for gas transmission, which can be very expensive in the pipeline. So those factors also contribute to lower electricity costs. The combined cycle power station also has a heat recovery element to it, which is quite different to an open cycle system. And so the ability to reuse its wasted heat to generate more power also means that it's sort of latest technology, super efficient, lower cost energy, uses less gas to actually fire itself up. So somewhere between 4 and 6% less gas than sort of open cycle gas turbines, that sort of stuff, which again is good news, not just for costs, but for emissions. If we have to run on gas for a while before we can actually get large supplies of hydrogen. And really exciting for the Illawarra area is the fact that if we can get it to hydrogen, it'll be a great offtake for a local hydrogen industry. So to put the quantities in context, if you're operating it at 100% green hydrogen, that's north of 800 tons of green hydrogen a day that's needed. So that's a significant supply, and it's really quite exciting because it means that, for the local industry to be able to scale to that size, you need to have, a good, strong supply chain, which, we hope, along with many others in the Illawarra, as you well know, we're hoping we'll be able to add our sort of weight to helping a hydrogen hub develop in Port Kembla or elsewhere in the Illawarra.
Fantastic. There's a lot of unique elements of the project. Thank you, Kylie. And there was a few key things in there that I hadn't heard before. So thank you for sharing that. You did speak then about quite a number of benefits, but in particular, would you be able to extend or speak further on the benefits for the region and also for the state for having such a modern and impressive system here in the Illawarra?
Yeah, sure. I mean, let me just check my numbers so I'm not giving you the wrong ones, but in terms of just some of the raw inputs into the region, if you go for a combined cycle gas turbine, it requires more equipment basically than an open cycle one. So if we go for the full combined cycle gas turbine, it's about a $1.2 to $1.4 billion capital investment. So just to put that in context, the gas terminal is 250 million. This is 1.2 to 1.4 billion. It's about 600 to 700 construction jobs. Not so many on the ongoing side because these things are, pretty well self-contained. About 25 to 35 ongoing jobs. But I think the real benefits is that issue around it creates a very large source of low emission energy for the region in the middle of a grid. Low emissions for community in terms of quality and all that sort of stuff, but obviously close access to the electricity. So, we haven't landed there yet, but we're certainly open to not quite behind the meter, but it's almost behind the meter because of the proximity of the power station in the port and some of the large industrial users in the port. So we're open to that, and we're looking at those sorts of things, so that maybe that there's a really good source of energy there. But either way, because of its size, it will keep a cap on power prices. So at the moment, power prices, particularly at their peak, can go up to like $14,000 per megawatt hour. And even as there's a constriction on so the explosion in Queensland, that saw power prices not spike up to 14,000, but I think it was like 52 or something like that. So this will keep a lid on that, because it works quite differently. It's not like a gas peaker. So many people think it's a gas peaker. It's not. A gas peaker is always, or not always, tends to be open cycle, and so you can ramp it up really quickly, but you turn it off a lot of the time, right? Whereas what this is, a combined cycle is designed to be operated for longer periods of time. It can handle intermittency, but it does so on a sort of a forecast basis. So if you think about it, the days, there's the wind and the solar come on sort of around 8:30 and go through till about 4:30, right? So you don't want to be necessarily operating a gas power station during that time, because you've got plenty of nice, clean, free, renewable energy. But you need power then when it curbs off and all the way around again to the start of the day. So if you can forecast the peaks, so 6:30 to 11:30 is a peak within the dying of the day, and then you've obviously got power of the full cycle round. Those sorts of things are much better for a combined cycle type operation. And so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at doing that so that it can stabilize renewable energy. And so why is that important to the Illawarra? Well, if the Illawarra wants to reach net zero, it needs to be able to get more renewables into its grid, so it can electrify everything that it can. But it needs to have clean energy for those periods when the wind isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining. So it supports Illawarra in pursuing that transition. It supports New South Wales in securing that transition. And of course, it brings local jobs, local power, local, hydrogen hub dynamics to the area. So there's some of the sort of the localized benefits, I guess. It was a long answer to a simple question. Sorry.
No, it was a great answer. No, I appreciated that. And I suppose on the flip side to that, they are some incredible benefits. What do you see the challenges of this project are going to be?
Yeah, I think without getting into a huge issue around energy market dynamics, the energy market is pretty tricky. So I think, the engineering, while it's latest design, the hydrogen capability, while that's sort of leading edge, they're all tricky. They're not challenges, right? They've got solutions. The energy market is a little less obvious. So basically we've got, we don't know the rate at which coal-fired power is going to come out of the market, for example. That obviously affects the economics of the power station. The faster coal-fired leaves, the more economical a combined cycle gas turbine power station becomes. If coal-fired power stations are incentivized to operate longer and stay into the market for longer, then obviously that makes the economics harder and potentially shifts the focus to an open cycle, which is not as efficient, and so therefore doesn't put as much downward pressure on electricity prices, for example. Or you may not bring the power in until a particular, later stage than, anticipated. So timing, economics, the energy market, the policy settings, these are all quite tricky things that are affecting the decision. And, we really need to get to the point, hopefully by, final investment decision, we will have a sense of how best to manage those dynamics, so that you can make a decision about when and in what phase. Is it open cycle to combined cycle? Is it straight to combined cycle? Is it, 50% natural gas? Is it 100% hydrogen? All those sorts of things happen. And so they're the actual challenges, I think, for this project. It's because it's all about when and how to make it economical. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that really does. And I think, you know, talking about the stages as well and those decisions in terms of the stage process, you know, are you going to go straight to combined or that process? Did you want to expand on that a little bit more now?
Yeah, no, it's a thanks. That's a good question. It's so the project can be staged. So if we need to, and so if the market is really volatile, for example, you can go in with an open cycle gas turbine, and you can then convert it later to the combined cycle gas turbine as you need to have longer periods of more stable energy in the market. Versus the really rapid dispatchable power that you get from sort of a more of a peaker. So those two stages are possible in the one project. Basically, when you convert them, all else being equal, your approvals and all that sort of stuff, but all else being equal, it takes about 12 months to convert an open cycle to a combined cycle, of which about 3 months is when the power station turns off. So that's actually quite a fast conversion time, really. Once you've got your settings and you go, yep, we actually need to do regular, much more consistent power to support the level of renewables that are in the grid, for example. So we're actually looking at both of those options at the moment, so that we can, what we want to do is be able to respond to the market, right? So if the market is going to maintain its volatility and, need rapid peaking, then we'll go in with that. That'll still be hydrogen capable, so it'll still be quite unique in that sense, and at 50%. But we will then look to converting it to the combined cycle, because it's just much more beneficial to run a combined cycle, much more environmentally friendly. While you get to full hydrogen, the costs are much better. So it's actually, because it reuses its heat rather than wasting its heat, like explained before, it's just much more efficient, and therefore can deliver much more price competitive electricity into the grid, which is ultimately what we want. So it's another complexity, but it's worth noting. So great question.
Interesting. No, yeah, there's so many moving parts to this, and I suppose on that topic, obviously there's been a lot of work done on the project already. Where is the project up to? What milestones have been reached? What are the next steps? Can you give a bit of an overview about where you're at the moment?
Yeah, so there's nothing simple in this project, but I'll try and hit the big ones. So first of all, we've applied for federal support under the UNGI program, so the Underwriting New Generation Investment Scheme that the Feds announced. That sort of relates to the policy uncertainty we were talking about before. It's quite difficult to raise finance at the moment for energy projects in the energy market, given the state that it's in. So the government has announced this UNGI scheme, which is quite important, and obviously we hope the Commonwealth will support our project, which again, it reduces the risk a little bit on the 1.2, 1.4 billion, which is quite a sizable risk to take. We've also applied for critical state significant infrastructure status. So that's similar to what the gas terminal has. Under the New South Wales government planning process, we are obviously hoping as well that the New South Wales government will support us by seeing fit to grant CSSI for the project. So we've applied and we're waiting for a decision. In terms of the sort of what I call the assessment studies, we've done a whole bunch of those. So we've done the preliminary site investigations, we've done the hazard assessments, we've got a defined transmission route. So that's actually quite tricky, because obviously with power, you've got to be able to exit it from the power plant. So we've got a defined transmission route. We've been engaging with the landowners on that route, so that we can tweak it where possible. That includes, landowners like the council and that sort of stuff as well. We've done enviro and geotech studies, heritage consultations underway. And then from the engineering side of things. We've completed the tender for design. And so that's where we got that H class, that latest technology stuff, which there's not that many suppliers. So anyone, a lot of i3net members will know exactly who we're talking about there. And we've received offers for some of the long lead equipment items. So that includes things like our turbines, obviously, but you know, switching yards and stuff like that. So we've got those offers in, and we're looking at those. So there's not a lot of noise in the marketplace, I guess, because we're sort of waiting for some of those critical government decisions. But you know, it's like the duck underneath the water. Obviously, a ton of stuff has been going on so that we can keep it moving. And we're very keen to keep it moving to a point where it can take final investment decision. And hopefully by then, as I mentioned, you know, the instability in the marketplace will be less.
Yes.
Eternally hopeful.
Exactly. So that's awesome. And obviously this interview is for the i3net members. And a question that I wanted to ask you, how can the i3net network support the project now, but also into the future?
Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be very similar to what that's happened with the gas terminal. So i3net have just been wonderful in terms of supporting first the terminal, which, you know, we're still the only one in construction. So we still reckon we're going to be Australia's first FSRU project down there in Port Kembla. And we couldn't have done that without, the support from i3net and the members. So, you know, some of the things that helped us, obviously, initially, the members' support for the project was fantastic. But, you know, letting us know if there's anything concerning the community, anything that, you know, if there's misinformation going around, if there's an opportunity to help people who might be a little bit concerned about, you know, a power station, or, you know, want to know more about, you know, hydrogen, direct them our way so that we can overcome one of those other challenges which you get all the time, which is, you know, community engagement with a project. You know, do they understand it? Are they supportive? Do they want it? You know, those sorts of things. So i3net was really good in helping us not only get support from the business community, but also helping us understand if there were areas in the community that we should actually talk to a bit more about, you know, some of the pros and the cons, and listen to and understand what their concerns are. So that, at this stage, that's really the most helpful. You know, let us know if you support, let us know if there's people that are worried, let us know if we can, you know, address some of those concerns. And then going forward, I mean, one of the things I'm quite pleased of with the AIE was, we started off with, writing into all our contractor plans that they had to have a local participation plan that, you know, we could review, and that we could see that they were trying to maximize local participation. I think we've actually have utilized the services of a number of i3 members. So that's great. But, you know, obviously when we sort of get along the different phases, particularly as we go into post-consent approvals and construction and stuff like that, then obviously we would be hoping and looking to be able to actively take on some of the companies. Yeah, I mean, to date, we've, I don't think they'd mind us mentioning, but, you know, Bridge Consulting, Venetia, Global Tech, Illawarra Security Guards, they're all i3net members, and we've been able to use some of their services, which we're internally grateful for, and hopefully we'll get a few more. Yeah, we want to maximize local content, is the short answer, and i3net gives us a lot of great expertise and skills and capabilities, so we're hoping to tap into that throughout the whole process.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. Look, I know that the members really have enjoyed working with AIE, and just even the whole experience from the whole journey that we went on for the Port Kembla gas terminal, from those initial meetings, and obviously that really fun beer and pizza night, and then all of the
That's right, that was good.
exactly, and then all of the updates and things that you've given, and being a part of the showcase. So and then all the great opportunities that have come out of that. So we really do appreciate the strong commitment that AIE has given the i3net members, and it's wonderful to hear that positive engagement is that that's the plan going into the future. So awesome.
I think the engineering team would kill me if I didn't suggest that they go down for the next beer and pizza night. So.
Definitely. No, we'll post lockdown, we're definitely make sure we lock that in.
Sounds like a plan.
Excellent. And before you spoke about obviously members engaging, and people if they've got any concerns or hear about any misinformation, or just want to find out more about the project, how do they actually get in contact with AIP?
Yeah, so first of all, everyone should feel free to reach out to me. So you've got my contact details, but also we're under the corporate partners page on i3net. So that's doors always open. We will shortly have, so under Squadron Energy, we will have a dedicated portal for AIP.
Great.
So people will soon, hopefully next week, be able to go onto Squadron Energy's website and get a whole bunch of contact details, emails, telephone numbers, 1-800 numbers, that sort of stuff, in terms of being able to send in questions. And of course, also we'll be trying to put more and more information on that website as well for people as the project goes through its different stages, as well as a couple of, just very basic fact sheets. So, what's the difference between, I don't know, grey hydrogen and green hydrogen and that sort of stuff, as well as, tell us a bit more about the power station and stuff like that. So hopefully that'll be available next week. But in the meantime, if anyone, and at any stage, if anyone's got any questions, they should feel free to reach out to me. I'm very happy to try and help.
Thank you. That's fantastic. I was just looking at my piece of paper with all my questions, and that was the end of the questions that I had. Was there anything else that you wanted to add at this point in time?
Only, apart from the beer and pizza nights, only
lock that in.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Only sort of, again, another big thank you to you in particular, Bianca, but also your board and your members. I have no doubt that the Port Kembla gas terminal would not be where it was without your guys' support, and I'm looking forward to hopefully delivering the same with a power station, which hopefully will be able to pull green hydrogen from local suppliers.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. Thank you, Kylie, for your time. We just appreciate your support, and it's been, as I mentioned before, just amazing working with you and the whole AIE team. So we're definitely looking forward to that continuing. Thanks for all of the information that you provided. I'm not sure how you fit all of that information in, but you're all over it, so it's fantastic to interview you. So, but yes, when lockdown is over, we look forward to having you in person, and let's lock in that beer and pizza night.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kylie. Bye.